Dane, it's Sam. We're ready to go.
Thank you, Sam. It is 7 o'clock, so I'll call the Westfield, Washington Township Board of Zoning and Appeals to order. Just for general knowledge, with Mr. Smith being virtual again this month, I will be, since I am in person, heading up tonight's meeting. Staff, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Fortier.
Here.
Mr. Hatfield.
Here.
Mr. Schmitz.
Here.
Mr. McCarty.
Here.
Mr. Buller.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, staff. And now looking at the approval of the minutes for July 12th, 2022. Right before the meeting started, we did note one change, as I look at it here, that for the legal counsel present, instead of Beth, it is, as it is currently tonight, Ashley Albrick. So that's one change for the agenda, but with that, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the July 12th meeting.
I'll second that.
Staff, please call the roll.
Ms. Fortier.
Yes.
Mr. Hatfield.
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz.
Yes.
Mr. McCarty.
Yes.
Mr. Buller.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And now, staff, if you would please review the rules and procedures for this evening.
Yes, for all petitions, tonight's meeting has the following structure. The department will summarize the petition and describe what action, if any, is necessary to be taken. The petitioner will be given up to 15 minutes to present to the board, and the president will open a public hearing. Individuals will be given 3 minutes to speak. Those representing a group will be given 5 minutes to speak. Only one member of the group will be given 5 minutes to speak. For efficiency purposes, we ask those representing a group speak first. The public hearing will be closed when all interested members of the audience have had a chance to be heard and all emails received during the meeting have been provided to board members. The petitioner will then have a chance to respond to comments, and the board will follow with any comments, questions, or concerns regarding the petition. Few comments for BZA members and petitioners this evening. Please do not disrupt the proceedings in any way. If you need to have a private discussion, we ask that you please quietly exit the room. Please silence your devices at this time, but if you must answer them, please quietly exit the room. If you are attending in person and wish to speak in regard to a petition scheduled for a public hearing, once the public hearing is opened by the president, please approach the podium and write your name and address on the sign-in sheet next to Wes up here. If you are not attending in person, comments regarding a petition should be emailed to planners@westfield.in.gov with the petition name or number included in the subject line. Those comments will be forwarded to board members and the petitioner. During your comments, please state your name and address into the microphone for the record. We ask that you not repeat previously stated comments. Your presentation will be timed and you will be advised when there is approximately 30 seconds remaining. We would like to remind everyone to please speak directly into the microphone so your comments can be put onto the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Dane. And looks like you have the first petition here tonight for 2208-VS-23-16847 Onward Drive.
Yes. Evening, members of the board. For the record, Dane Crabtree with the Community Development Department. The item before you this evening is a variance of development standard request for 16847 Onward Lane, a 0.35 acre parcel in the Spring Mill Park subdivision, which is zoned SF2 single-family low density. The request is to encroach 8 feet into the 30-foot minimum rear yard setback so a swimming pool and deck may be built. This item is scheduled for a public hearing this evening. The department has received no comments. The proposal has been approved by the Homeowners Association, as can be seen in Exhibit 4. The petitioner, Deborah Randall, does not plan to make a presentation, but is available for questions, as am I if there are any questions for staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Dane. Is Deborah Randall here? Did you have any comments before we open the public hearing? Are you good? Would you please approach the podium here? And just turn on the mic and then state your name and address, please.
Derek Randall, I also live at the property there. No real comments. Yep, just putting a pool in it, backed up to a pond on the back, and we're going about 8 feet into that 30-foot setback.
All right, perfect. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing at 7:04. Give it about a minute.
Mike Joseph at 16740 Colfax Lane.
Don't have a lot of experience with this zoning committee or zoning matters in general, but I do live on the other side of the retention pond that was shown by Dane. Just had a question about precedent. If this is approved and then, let's say, all the other houses along that side of the pond decide to make a similar request, is there, what are the negatives with regard to the easement being, I suppose, blocked by a more or less permanent structure?
Thank you. We'll have staff answer that question once the public hearing is over. Thank you. Any virtual comments? No?
We do not have any.
All right, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:05.
So just to, I guess to clarify, they're not requesting to encroach into any easement. It's a setback. So from the rear lot line forward 30 feet, no building or structure can be built. The deck can encroach into a setback, but the pool itself cannot. So the actual concaveness of the pool encroaching 8 feet into the setback is what's being requested. They're not proposing to encroach into the drainage easement with anything. So there's nothing in this case specifically to be concerned about per se, unless there are concerns of neighbors, I suppose. The HOA has signed off on it. Come forward, please.
Maybe I misinterpreted your black and white schematic, but it looked like there were two dotted lines, one landscape easement and one the drainage easement, and that the pool was definitely over into the landscape easement. Is that not correct?
So this is the petitioner's, not staff's, just for clarification. The drainage easement is what the Public Works Department would be concerned with. The landscape easement was set there on the plat and eventually deeded over to the HOA once they took full right of it. I don't know what Springville Park HOA does in that landscape easement, but the HOA signed off on it, so I guess they don't seem to have much concern about that landscape easement. I can't say.
So the HOA owns that
The
strip of land?
The landscape easement is to the rights of the HOA and things like that. Yeah, that's not like a Public Works city-owned easement or anything like that.
Okay, thanks.
Did any fellow board members have any questions or comments or concerns?
I will say it definitely is unusual to see a 20-foot landscape easement go that close to a house. I don't know that I've ever seen that before.
Yeah. Dave, did you have anything?
I would agree with Dane. It's kind of odd that has that lengthy of a easement for landscape purposes. But I think based on this petition, you know, if there's, it seems like to me that the findings in the staff report are covered. You know, that it's a permitted use, and there's nothing objectionable that I would see about simply the location of the pool, and that's what this petition's all about. So I think the having the pond behind it mitigates the effect of it. There's no massing. There's nothing that above ground that creates any issue. That it's simply the location of it relative to that setback line. So I don't have a problem with the petition. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. I concur. Just to ask the petitioner if you would please come back up. I just wanted to double check if you are aware of the 2 recommended conditions from staff.
Yep, I did read those actually. Yeah, I just want to make sure I was.
One more, there we go. So the first
Yep.
one's just saying that due to the Exhibit 3 that you provided, it has to be built in compliance with that. Any changes that you have, you got to make sure you come back and check with staff for approval of that.
Yep, and we made special detail with our contractor to make sure that he had it down to a T because we wanted to make sure it exactly matched what that exhibit was as well.
Good deal. Thank you, sir.
Yep, no problem.
With that, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve 2208 VS 23 16847 Onward Drive with the two recommended conditions that the property be developed in substantial compliance with the site plan Exhibit 3, and that the petitioner shall record an acknowledgement of this approval with the county recorder's office and return a copy of the recorded instrument to the Economic and Community Development Department.
Second?
I second.
Alrighty. We have a second, or first by Janine and second by Noble. If staff would please call the roll.
Mr. Hatfield,
Yes.
Mr. Buller,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. McCarty,
Yes.
Ms. Fortier.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And I'll make a motion to approve the findings of fact.
I'll second.
Staff, please call the roll.
Mr. Hatfield,
Yes.
Mr. Buller,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. McCarty,
Yes.
Ms. Fortier.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Your matter is approved. Moving.
Close the public hearing.
Yeah, you did, but I don't recall what time it was. It was like
7:05.
5.
Yeah, it was 1 minute. Oh, man, scaring me. Just trying to get on a roll here. With that, yeah, thanks. With that, we'll move on to our second item of this evening, 2208-VS-25, 16234 Montrose Lane. This item's with Ryan.
Good evening, members of the board. For the record, Ryan Collingwood with the Community Development Department. The item presented before you tonight is a request to permit a detached garage to be located on a legal non-conforming lot on 0.9 acres in the AGSF1 Agriculture/Single-Family Rural District. The subject property is located at 16234 Montrose Lane. The petitioner requests modification of the minimum side yard setback from 30 feet to 10 feet in order to place the proposed garage at the end of the existing driveway. There's an existing 10-foot drainage and utility easement around the perimeter of the property that will also be utilized as the requested 10-foot side yard setback. The petitioner is also requesting modifications to the minimum lot size and minimum lot frontage standards in order to comply with the applicable lot standards of the AGSF1 zoning district so that detached garage may be permitted to be built on the property. This item is before you this evening for a public hearing. It has been properly noticed and advertised, and staff has received no public comments. The petitioner, Michael Green, is here tonight. He does not plan to make a presentation. He is available for questions, as am I, should you have any for staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Michael, just before we start the public hearing, did you have any comments or anything you would like to state? No, I'm good. All right, I'll just go ahead and open the public hearing, and then we'll jump right into the next part. Open the public hearing at 7:13. While we're waiting, Dave, did you receive the virtual schematics of the garage?
So I actually just received those tonight. So unfortunately, there's only physical copies. I can provide one to Dave after the meeting tomorrow,
Okay.
if need be. But yeah, only physical copies.
All right, thank you. Time's now 7:14. Any virtual comments?
We have no virtual comments.
Okay, close the public hearing at 7:14. Take note of that, just so remember that I did close it. Fellow board members, did you have any comments, questions, concerns?
Looks real nice. At least the drawings, so.
Dave, did you have anything?
I guess a couple things. I just want to clarify with staff that the variances for to comply with the AGSF1 with frontage and lot area, those are just necessary, I presume, because they can't have an accessory building on a non-conforming lot, so you have to clear those two issues first, then seek the the variance for the, I mean, they can be done at the same time, but you gotta have those two in order to get the accessory building issue squared away, right?
Correct, Dave. Yeah, so there can be no improvements made on a non-conform or legal non-conforming lot unless the lot in question is compliant with the zoning district. So this this Ridgewood subdivision's a little bit of an interesting one, just because it was all the lots in the subdivision are legal non-conforming. They all do not meet the three acre minimum, and they do not meet the road frontage minimum. So as Dave said, in order to make improvements on the lot itself, you have to first make the lot into compliance with the applicable zoning district. So
Yeah, well, and to complicate things further, legal non-conforming lots can be built upon provided all the standards of the district are continued to be met, which would normally require a 30-foot side yard setback. So because this request is requesting to modify that from 30 to 10, they obviously are not looking to meet all the applicable AGSF1 standards of the non-conforming lot, thus needing the other things as well.
Okay. And then, and that all stems from this being a pre-1977 subdivision.
Correct.
I guess it was just, AGSF1 is just assigned to this for some reason, and that's bringing up those two issues.
Correct. This definitely, the overall subdivision does not comply with any AGSF standards. Frankly, it's closer to SF2 or something like that. It just is not
Right.
zoned that way.
Okay. And I was going to ask the petitioner to walk us through the photograph renderings, but if he brought architectural plans in, do you have, because I was a little confused by the things that were in the staff report, the photographs, just knowing exactly what it is that we're getting. But was that clarified with what was submitted tonight?
Approach the podium and just state your name and address, please.
Michael Green, 16234 Montrose Lane, Westfield. I guess I'm not understanding, I have a plot plan that it shows the garage in relationship to the house. If you look, there should be both sides of that plot. I'm basically on the south side of my garage. I'm in line, currently have it drawn to be within line with the south side of my driveway. So the whole building would set back towards the north. And I apologize, I sent Ryan a drawing. The drawings you have is a little bit closer to reality. That's actually the architectural rendering and everything else.
So trying to wrap my mind around it as well. I got Google Maps pulled up here. In your
Is there a
sketch-
flip side? Bear with me a second.
While you're pulling something up, looking at the sketch drawing, you have the house with north. You have it east, southwest, and then the garage is to the south of the house.
Yes, that's currently my driveway. Here, let me hand you this, it might help clarify.
We have this exhibit. Oh, okay.
If you look at that side of that same page, that's the opposite side of what you're looking at. Did you see where you go up the drive?
So the driveway's coming from the south?
Right, here, let me give you one of these as well. Where you see where the drive comes in, you pull into the drive, it's on the east.
Oh, I see.
Could you go back to the podium, sorry?
As you pull up the drive, on the left-hand side of the driveway, that's the south side of the property. So my intent was to align the front of that driveway on the left-hand side of it with the edge of the drive and then build to the north of that.
Okay.
That's south.
Are you able to
That's north.
follow along, Dave? I know you don't have any of the.
Yeah, no, I am. That was one question I had, was where the south line of the garage, whether it lined up with the driveway. So that's great. That helps when you look at the aerials a little closer, you can see where it would be. So that's good. But I was
Yeah. so gonna
more
be-
questioning what you had received tonight as far as the architectural plans for the garage itself.
Right.
I note that the recommended conditions make it subject to the site plan, but not
Mhm.
Exhibit 4, which is the concept drawings. But then those concept drawings would be hard to administer because it's, what you have up there now with all the pen marks and the annotations on there.
Go ahead.
I actually have given the guys up here on at the counter a complete set of prints. If there's any way that they can scan and email them over to you, or.
Yeah.
No, that's great. I'll rely on my fellow commissioners to
Yeah,
to the extent
what
that's
you're currently looking
consistent.
at on the screen is,
Hmm.
I mean, it's totally obsolete.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Were you just, with the examples here, were you just kind of using that as, hey, this is materials that I want to use, or?
no, what you've got right there is
Okay,
what it will be,
okay.
period.
So it will be a single-car garage with storage?
Single car garage, shop, kind of a man cave / shop on the right-hand side of it. Window in the front, access door on the north side. Dormer in the front, brick wainscot.
Question for staff. Should we include this in the recommended conditions and have it be Exhibit 5, having it being built in compliance with Exhibit 5?
If you wish to make the motion that it be architecturally substantially similar to what you have there, you certainly can add it into the record as Exhibit 5 that we can upload later and add that as a condition if that is something you wish to do.
How do my fellow board members feel about that?
I'm fine with that.
I think that's a good idea.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Mentioning recommended conditions, since we have you, have you reviewed the 2 so far recommended conditions in the staff report? Just again, it being built in substantial compliance, and then just acknowledging the approval with the county?
I'm hard of hearing.
No, I don't think so. So
Staff, could we just bring that up on the screen real quick, please?
I have it in front of me.
Awesome. 3 and 5.
We're good. I talked them through it.
All right, thank you. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, you're just over there.
Do you want to mention anything about deleting Exhibit 4?
None of the recommended conditions include Exhibit 4, so there's no need to necessarily delete it. It just won't be entered into the record at any sort of condition factor.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions or comments?
So is the structure going to go, like where you have the asphalt drive coming up here? Is the deck, is the deck right to the side of that? Mm-hmm.
I pull right straight in my drive, and it starts at this edge and goes back that way.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so it'll be at the end of this drive, or basically right on it.
Okay, okay.
So, and, yeah, I apologize, it's showing, I withdrew it off the existing building, but yeah, it should show where it goes. But any part of the garage will not exceed this edge. You know, actually, probably, according to the measurements I pulled, I'm actually probably in a foot.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, in lieu of any more discussion, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve 2208-VS-25-16234 Montrose Lane with the following recommended conditions: that the accessory building detached garage be developed in substantial compliance with the site plan Exhibit 3 and Exhibit 5, and that the petitioner shall record an acknowledgement of this approval with the county recorder's office and return a copy of the recorded instrument to the Community Development Department.
And I'll second.
We have a first by Bowler and second by Janine. Staff, please call the roll.
Mr. Buller,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. McCarty,
Yes.
Ms. Fortier,
Yes.
Mr. Hatfield.
Yes,
Motion carries.
And I'll make a motion to approve the findings of fact.
I'll second.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll give this one a no. Staff, please call the roll.
Mr. Buller,
Yes.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. McCarty,
Yes.
Ms. Fortier,
Yes.
Mr. Hatfield.
Yes,
Motion carries.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
Mr.
Your
Green.
matter is approved. And now
Yes.
to our last item this evening, 2208-VS-26, 2033-4 Commerce Park Drive, and this is Weston.
Thank you, members of the board. For the record, Weston Rogers with the Community Development Department. The property is located in the northeast corner of Grassy Branch Road and Commerce Park Drive within the North Point PUD zoning district. The petitioner is requesting multiple variances of development standard to permit outdoor storage for a period of 5 years and to modify the landscaping and fencing standards to develop a self-storage facility on roughly 4.87 acres. This item does require a public hearing tonight and has been properly noticed and advertised. Staff has received no public comments. The petitioner is here tonight to make a brief presentation and answer any questions, as am I should you have any for staff. I would also like to note that the petitioner has provided some hard copy exhibits that you should have with you at this time, and Dave, you should have those emailed to you as well. So with that, I will turn it over to you guys. Thank you.
Petitioner, you can go ahead and make your presentation, please.
Middle one. In the middle.
Uh,
You got it.
All right.
All set.
Once again, members of the board, good evening. For the record, my name is Andy Word. I'm a land use professional with the law firm of Churchill and Antrim, with offices here at 116 North Union Street in Westfield. With me in the audience this evening is John Perrine of Amazon Westfield LLC. John develops and owns a number of these self-storage and office facilities in central Indiana. His latest project was in Westfield, was Spring Mill Grand Station at 161st and Spring Mill Road. What we're proposing in the North Point development is a two-phase self-storage facility, a total of over 71,000 square feet of building area. As Wes indicated, we're seeking 3 variances from the BZA tonight. The first one being to allow outdoor storage in the area of what will be Phase 2 buildings. Storage in this area will be mostly RVs and boats. Related to that is a request to increase the fence height from the standard 10 feet to 12 feet. This would facilitate more complete screening of those taller RVs on the storage area. And finally, we're requesting a variance to omit the foundation plantings along the building facades that have overhead doors. This would really be for the walls. Upon completion, would really be screened by the outdoor, or I should say the outdoor perimeter of the buildings, as well as fencing. There's also a maintenance concern with the planting materials being subject to being exposed to being backed over by U-Haul type vehicles. The design and development is what's known in the industry as a fortress style. So that's one point in and out. Access is by code only. This allows for control not only who enters the site, but also what time the facility is actually accessible. Overhead doors are on one side. On the other side, then we've got the attractive finished appearance on the outside. Landscaping, screening, building facade should present a very pleasing appearance from the public roads. In terms of view to the east, I believe you got that physical handout. I don't know if you've got okay. It represents a sort of a build out of this portion of North Point. There's a building in yellow, highlighted in yellow there, that will be immediately east of where we're proposing to have the storage. That is an indoor gun shooting range, which I believe the board may be familiar with. I think they came before you last year for approval. We have been in communication with that owner, J.R. Freiberger, and they are fine with what we're proposing on that site. My understanding, they haven't closed on the property yet, but it's an imminent closing. We're proud to present this tonight as one of the first North Point projects along State Road 38. We're happy to address any questions you might have.
Did my fellow board members have any questions before I open up the public hearing? Go ahead and open it up at 7:32. Time's now 7:33. Any virtual comments?
No comments.
All right, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing at 7:33. Open it up to comments, questions, concerns?
Looks really nice. I do have a question on this. So the page right after here, it says where the parking is, it says proposed future building 2. I think that's what it says. It's really hard for me to see because I'm
That's what it
getting old.
No, future building E.
E, okay, thank you. And so could that outdoor storage be replaced by a building at some point, or?
That's the intent of that. Phase 2 then will be buildings, is it D and E, John?
If you could go ahead and come up to the podium, please, just so Dave can hear as well.
Hello, my name is John Prine. I'm with Aspen Property Management, and I'm one of the developers on the project. There's 2 buildings that will be built in Phase 2, and those will replace the outside parking.
Okay,
So the outside parking will go away at that point.
okay, and you're not planning to put it somewhere else?
No.
Okay.
No, the outside parking will go away, and we're just asking for a 5-year term.
Got it, okay. Thank you.
So then after the 5 years, then the other buildings will be built, or the other building, and so that portion will no longer pertain to this, is that right? The outside storage, is that right?
The fence would be taken down and replaced by the 2
Buildings.
buildings.
Okay, thank you.
And that would complete the circuit, so to speak. fortress style.
Okay.
Since we discussed parking just for a brief moment, is there usually a general need for parking in a facility like this, or since it'll be taken away?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think what we find, and we have several facilities that have outside parking, we usually find that there's an insatiable demand for this, for outside parking. I mean, people have boats, they have RVs, and they have nowhere to store them. And of course, the homeowners associations aren't very positive on RVs in their driveways. So there's always a demand. And the thing that we try to do, the 12-foot fence actually is more expensive for us to build, but it will completely screen pretty much anything that's gonna be parked there. So, and if you see it, it's a pretty good looking fence, I thought. So it should, you won't be able to see anything really behind on the inside of the storage because it's a fortress design. There's buildings surrounding it except for where this fence is. So for the most part, really nobody's gonna see what's inside the facility.
So that did answer one part, but I guess to clarify my question a little bit, with that parking being replaced by a building, for people visiting the property, is there usually a need for parking there, or do they just park in front of their storage unit?
There won't be any, yeah, they will just come. Usually they'll come and they'll park right in front of their storage unit. We'll have a little bit of parking near the office, but at a self-storage facility, 3 or 4 spots and you're fine.
Okay.
There's really no need for parking.
Okay. And then just one last question, because we mentioned boats, RVs. Is that what this facility is mainly going to be used for, or also general storage, just extra clutter and whatnot?
The storage will actually be a smaller part of the operation, the outside parking storage. If you look right here on the south side of the site that you see there, those are going to be mainly contractor units. So that's going to provide opportunities for local businesses to run their business out of those contractor units. We have, in fact, a lot of contractor units. The building, I believe that's D to your left, going up and down, that's also mainly contractor units. And if you go to the very top, I'm sorry, if you go, is there a way to go to the top? Yeah, this building right here, which is the A building, we're gonna have an innovation that's new for self-storage, and that's gonna be doors that will open to the outside, but will be climate control, which is really not anything you'll see at the typical storage today. It's a new innovation. So businesses, let's say a painting contractor who needs to store his paint in there, but it needs heat in the winter, he can actually drive up, open that door, and not have to walk down a hallway with all his inventory, and it'll be very easy for him to operate his business out of this facility. So I like to think that we provide a service. It's kind of like an incubator for small businesses, because we're going to support a lot of the smaller businesses that don't want to rent a warehouse site or a 2,000 or 3,000 square foot space.
Interesting, very informational. Thank you.
Excuse me, notwithstanding the 12-foot fence, which I hope somebody has checked wind rating on at 70-mile-an-hour storms coming through here. The things that you want to store in there, like boats and RVs and all that, will all those be functional? In other words, be road weary or road able products, so nobody comes and puts their junk contractor truck in there?
Yes, exactly. We are against having any building materials. We won't have semi-trucks, and we don't want old vehicles or something that's not operational on the site. First of all, it's bad for our business because someone comes in with a $200,000 RV, and if they need to park it next to a car that's not working or rusting out, that's not a good reference on our facility. So you have to have operating plates with tags, with current tags, to rent at our spaces, at our facilities.
Okay, thank you.
Dave, did you have anything?
Yeah, I guess my initial concern was, North Point at its point of approval was a very scrutinized project, and it's an enclosed industrial project. And so outside storage not being permitted, that was a concern of mine, that I didn't want to dilute what's being done within North Point. So I was concerned about that, but we're not getting public comment or concern about it, and this is temporary in nature. And I understand the desire to have an economically viable use of that portion of the property for a short period of time. So I think I'm fairly comfortable with that, particularly in light of what the petitioner just stated with the vehicles being licensed. I don't know that that's binding in the petitioner narrative or anywhere I want it to be binding. So I appreciate that position. I'd like to have that somehow be a binding representation by the petitioner. The only other question I had was, and I think I'm comfortable with this as well, and in the summary of the variances, it mentions the foundation plantings just on the facades with the overhead doors, which I assume, so all we're talking about with that is like building B on the east side, on the stuff that came out tonight with the color renderings. Basically the east side, right? Building D east, building B east, and I guess north of F. I just want to clarify that because when at least the initial variance statement at the beginning of the staff report just talked about foundation plantings being omitted, and which I wouldn't support, but along where there's door after door after door, overhead door after overhead door, that makes perfect sense. So that would be the only comment, is that we're clear on that anything that would be granted would have those conditions met.
And by looking at, to follow up on that, Dave, by looking at the renderings here, pretty much anything that's being omitted is on the interior of the property, not the exterior.
That is correct.
So it'll still
Yeah,
have.
my
go
concern
ahead.
is the language says that, not the. I understand what the petitioner's trying to do. I think it's just making sure that what we're approving limits, has the appropriate language in it.
Yeah, so Dave, I see what you're saying. When I'm reviewing the staff report, the summary of variances, number 2, where it says omit foundation landscaping, the description underneath that does clarify that it would omit this standard from applying to building facades containing overhead doors. So if that helps clarify your concern.
Yeah, that's what I
Okay.
saw. It was comfortable, but I think there was somewhere where, like, if you look closer above where it said requested variances, it just says, oh no, it does say overhead doors. Maybe I missed it. Okay. So I just wasted everybody's time. Sorry about that.
You're fine, Dave.
No worries. We're happy to clarify.
Dave, I was theorizing how to write the condition you're suggesting here. One of the conditions being that vehicles or boats stored on site must be of working order and have current tags. Is that sufficient or something along those lines? Oh, you're muted, Dave.
Sorry about that. Yeah, that's fine from my perspective.
Anything else?
Is there a signage ordinance in this section that handles this area?
The North Point PUD either modifies the UDO in some fashion or defaults to the UDO for sign standards.
Okay, thank you. I don't want a bunch of boat for sale signs sitting out there.
No, they would be subject to the existing North Point sign standards or the UDO, whichever is applicable.
And just to clarify, the petitioner isn't proposing to verify from those standards, any
thank you.
signage standards of any
Okay.
kind.
I do have one comment. John has a facility behind our house, and I think it's very tidy and nice looking. He's been good to work with as a neighbor, and I assume that it will be as good on this project as well. It always looks good, so I appreciate that, and I look forward to that business.
and I might have a comment that might make me look dumb, but as we've been working through this, I've realized, and just to clarify my realization, so after those 5 years, there would no longer be boats or RVs parked here because there would then be a building in that place, correct?
That's correct. We're asking for a 5-year
Yeah,
permit, and then our intention would be to build the buildings around that time.
okay,
The ability to have outside storage of any kind would go away.
okay, all right. I processed that in my brain, so, thank you. Oh, that's a good question. That's a good point brought up. Do we want to put a date in there, or just with the first issuance of occupancy, that's what it is?
I mean, I think that if the petitioner is willing to have a 5-year imposition upon them, I think that would be the more restrictive version. So I think we would certainly go with that. Because if you simply say that it goes away with the certificate of occupancy of the building, that could be longer than 5 years.
Okay. So 5 years, that would be.
Or the event that
Oh, yeah.
permitted to have it in perpetuity, so.
I'm trying to.
And
do
if the building is built, well, even though the 5 years is active, there's nowhere to actually store anything. So
Yeah.
it's kind of it becomes a self-imposed hardship at that point, so.
Yeah. So do we want to say December 31st, 2027? Or, kind of asking my fellow board members here, or just leave it at the certificate of occupancy? Leave it as is?
I think leave it as is. When is the first building expected to be constructed?
We expect to break ground next spring, so it'd probably be the end of next year,
Okay,
of 2023.
okay.
We've actually filed a detailed development plan. I think it's going to be on the next APC meeting. So those have been engineered and filed for approval.
Yeah, I would just leave it the way it is.
All right, good deal. I just want to make sure we talk that through, discuss that. Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay. Unless someone else is wanting to make a motion, I'm a glutton for punishment, so, they're all pointing to me. That's usually what happens. I have to read the long ones. Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve 2208-VS-26, 2033 for Commerce Park Drive, Amazon Westfield, with the following recommended conditions for approval. Dane, should I say yours first? Okay. First recommended condition that boats and vehicles should be with tags and in working order.
Oh, add current tags.
Current tags. There we go, add that in. Second recommended condition that the site shall be developed in substantial compliance with Exhibits 3 and Exhibit 4. That the outside storage shall be limited to specific locations identified as proposed future building C and proposed future building E as shown on Exhibit 3. The property shall be developed and operated in substantial compliance with the petitioner's statement of intent as described in Exhibit 5. That the outside storage shall be removed from the property within a maximum duration of 5 years following the issuance of the certificate of occupancy for the first building constructed on the property, and that the petitioner shall record an acknowledgement of this approval with the Hamilton County Recorder's Office and return a copy of the record instrument to the Community Development Department. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
First and seconded. Staff, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. McCarty,
Yes.
Ms. Fortier,
Yes.
Mr. Hatfield,
Yes.
Mr. Bowler.
Yes,
Motion carries.
And I'll make a motion to approve the findings of fact.
I'll second that.
Second by Bowler. Staff, please call the roll.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. McCarty?
Yes.
Ms. Fortier?
Yes.
Mr. Hatfield?
Yes.
Mr. Buller?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Your matter is approved.
Thank you. We appreciate your time.
Well, look at this. We might get out of here before 8 p.m. Just, thanks. I'll try to be brief. We have one item that is continued to be tabled, and then reports/comments. I guess that is still me, so as I said, Buller, I'll try to be brief. But it was a 3-hour meeting at ABC last week. No, last week. Yeah, last night was city council. Bowler, you're making me drag this on, okay. Consent agenda, we had the Westfield Health Pavilion at Midtown. That's phase 2 of the Community Health Department at Midtown. That is the northeast corner of 31 and 191st. Looking forward to them being in Westfield. The project overall was approved last night at council. Items of business, we had Springwater, that was the overall development plan and primary plat on Union Street. It is the east side of Union, the Old Town development across from Lantern Commons. And then, again, the other item about Midtown that was approved last night at council was also approved unanimously at APC. Public hearing items, we had the Westfield Yard PUD, which is nothing like the Fisher's Yard, but it's okay. I made note of that. It's on the southwest corner of Gray Road /32. It has currently a max of 75 townhomes. It will preserve the tree line along the Midland. And right now they're in discussions, and I know it's a hot topic with Duke Energy, with whatever they decide to do. They have 4 amenities, and again, the main concern is just what's going on with Duke. Next up was the UDO landscape bonds, update to common area landscape plantings. Then we had miscellaneous items. We had discussion revolving around the Woods Robinson Briggs PUD Amendment 2. That continued discussion was just regarding the update to the park. We didn't really touch anything else regarding the amendment, just getting an update regarding the park. That'll be continued to a future meeting. And then the longest discussion was revolving around the amended rules of procedure, which is adopting rules in terms of the ex parte communications, moving the second meeting to city services, among other items. So, and that will be at a future meeting. And yes, as we're looking at the continued items, I believe, Dane, you can correct me, that North Point 2 will be on our next agenda.
Public hearing for North Point 2, that is accurate.
Public hearing for North Point 2 will be this coming Monday. So I believe I got it all. With that, any comments from Community Development Department?
No comments. We do have at least one BZA item for next month,
Okay.
so there will be a meeting.
At least one. I can keep holding down the fort, Dave, just letting you know. Well, he's here. He's here virtually and in spirit. All right, well, we're at the end of the meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Buller,
Second.
second by Janine. Staff, please call the roll.
Mr. Schmitz,
Yes.
Mr. Buller.
Sorry for the inefficiency I caused people.
You're fine, Dave.
Yes.
Ms. Fortier,
Yes.
Mr. McCarty,
Yes,
Mr. Hatfield.
Yes.
We are adjourned.
meeting's adjourned.